library partnerships towards Agenda 2030 and 2063. Our moderator for this session, who will introduce more of the session, is Dr. Victoria Okuje. Let me introduce her a bit for you. Dr. Victoria Okuje, she's very key to the International Federation of Library Associations, particularly to the Africa. She is the former chair of the Africa section at the International Federation of Library Association, and now she has been a member of the governing board. She's now serving as a mentor for the Sub-Saharan division. This is the lady who wears many, many hats in the library services. She's the lecturer at the University of Abuja in Nigeria. She's in the advisory committee, UNESCO Memory of the World program. She worked in many leadership positions at universities, at the British Council, in the Global Libraries program, the Bill and Melinda program. She's served as a consultant in different library forums, and she's the former president of the Nigeria Library Association. She's the moderator for this session, and please enjoy the facilitation as she goes on. Thank you. Victoria, to the podium, please, madam.
Thank you very much, Ayana. Good day, everyone. You're welcome to the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Division Committee panel discussion on the theme, Building Forward Better, Africa Library Partnerships for Inclusive Information and Education towards Agendas 2030 and 2063. This panel discussion is organized in the context of the UN Africa Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, which is currently taking place in Kigali, Rwanda. To put this discussion in context, I would like to reiterate that libraries are trusted providers of information and spaces for research, skills formation, and community development, contributing to progress across the SDGs as highlighted by the recent UN Public Service Award to the Ghana Library Service. They bring unique contributions to partnerships. IFLA works to bring about a united global library field powering literate, informed, and participatory societies. It focuses strongly on the SDGs as a framework for structuring and maximizing the positive impact of libraries on societies and building awareness and partnerships. IFLA's Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Division Committee plays a vital role in building capacity for learning and defining regional action plans and local advocacy priorities that respond to Africa's needs, with reference also to the 2063 agenda. It emphasizes the transformational role that information and informed societies can play in accelerating achievement of the SDGs in Africa. In this panel discussion, speakers from outside and inside of the library field across Africa will first identify development challenges created or intensified by COVID-19, and then explore how partnerships involving libraries have helped provide innovation and effective responses. Responding to a series of questions, the panelists will share lessons and insights about the unique potential of partnering with libraries and what is needed to unlock this. The floor will be open to participants to contribute their insights and ask questions at the end. Participants also have the option of writing their questions in the chat box. We have 5 speakers for this event, and I would like you to meet all of them before we start. They are 1, Dr. Albert Biamugisha. He is the Senior Technical Advisor, SDGs, Office of the Prime Minister in Uganda. Dr. Albert is currently responsible for steering the coordination function and supporting the oversight in the implementation of SDGs coordination framework in Uganda and progress of the 2030 agenda. He is responsible for building strategic partnerships with the private sector on financing and innovation for the SDGs and providing technical support, advice, and expertise to ministries, departments, and agencies, private sector, civil society, and academic institutions to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs agenda. You are welcome, Dr. Albert. Next, we have Dr. Helena Asamoah Hassan. She is the Executive Director of the African Library and Information Associations and Institutions, IFLA. Prior to this, she was the University Librarian of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. She has been in the library profession for over 45 years, and she is a fellow of the Ghana Library Association. She has served in several roles, including President of Ghana Library Association, member of the Governing Board of IFLA, member and later chairperson of IFLA Advisory Board, member and later chairperson of UNESCO's International Advisory Committee on the Memory of the World Program. She received the IFLA Service Medal for her significant contribution to IFLA and international librarianship through her work in building bridges across Africa and between African countries and the rest of the world. You are welcome, Dr. Helena. Our third speaker is Mandla Tombella, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Director of the South African Library for the Blind. Currently, he is also a member of the IFLA Governing Board. He has served numerous leadership roles, such as President of AFLIA and President of LIASA, the Library and Information Association of South Africa. He holds a Master of Library and Information Studies degree from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. You're welcome, Mandla. Our fourth speaker for today is Dr. Eugene Ndabaga. Dr. Eugene is an Associate Professor of Education at the University of Rwanda College of Education, the Chief Editor of Rwanda Journal of Education, and an external reviewer for Compare Journal of Education in the UK. He has a doctorate degree in Education Management, Policy and Planning from the University of Bath, UK. Dr. Eugene has taught across various levels of education. For 2 terms, Dr. Eugene was the Vice Rector, DVC, in charge of academic affairs at Umutara Polytechnic University in the eastern part of Rwanda before the merger. You are welcome, Dr. Eugene. And our fifth speaker is Ms. Beata Nyirabahizi, a Rwandan citizen who works for Rwanda Cultural Heritage Academy as Acting Director of Rwanda National Library Services Unit. She is also the chairperson of Rwanda National Memory of the World Committee and a board member of the Kigali Public Library. She was also formerly a librarian in Rwanda Library Services, an archivist in charge of National Archives collection. Ms. Beata is a professional librarian and holds a master's degree in library sciences from Mahatma Gandhi University. She speaks and writes Kinyarwanda, French, English, and Swahili. You are welcome, madam. I will ask each panelist a series of questions, and at the end of this, participants will be able to ask questions by using the chat box. Please note that this live event is being recorded. Thank you. Now to the panelists, the questions. And I will start with you, Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert, with your experience in government, what efforts would you say the government has made in the attainment of African Union Agenda 2063 and the SDGs? Dr. Albert.
Thank you very much, Professor Victoria, the moderator, distinguished panelists, and those attending virtually. On behalf of the National SDG Secretariat, it gives me great pleasure to have an opportunity to speak briefly at today's side event ahead of the upcoming 2022 African Region Forum. Let me start by thanking the International Federation of Library Association for playing a leading role in ensuring that necessary conversations about SDGs take place, not only at this event today, but by continually supporting the global agenda activities. And I similarly thank the organizers for convening these forums, which provide an opportunity to assess progress and exchange knowledge, good practices, and policy solutions to support the implementation of the global agenda. For the case of Uganda, I wish to take this opportunity to inform the listeners that as a government, we adopted the global agenda, the United Nations one, the SDG one, 2015, and by that time, Uganda held the presidency of the National Assembly. And at the same time, Uganda, of course, participated in adopting the African Union aspirations in 2013, and have been participating in the implementation of the both agendas. Both the United Nations agenda together with the African Union, we also have the East African Community Agenda of 2050. We mapped in our National Development Plan. Now we have a vision of 2040, which is realized in a series of development plans for 5 years. We have now a third National Development Plan, starting from 2021 to 2025, and the 3 global agendas, that is the SDGs, the 2063 African aspiration, together with the East African Community of 2050, we mapped together in our National Development Plan. Now, we must notice that when that was done, a coordination framework was developed by the government, which was established in 2016 with the leadership of the Office of the Prime Minister to coordinate that global agenda. And it is anchored within the mainstream government coordination arrangements, defines and delegates leadership roles and responsibilities for different aspects of coordinating implementation of SDGs. It provides 5 multi-sectoral technical working groups, which include coordination, planning, and administering of SDGs, resource mobilization, data aspects for the SDGs and other global agendas, together with the communication and the popularization of the global agendas. And in this coordination, in this communication and popularization working group, we have the Uganda, the head of the Uganda library, the National Library for Uganda participating in this one here. Now, a number of initiatives have been done, and it expedites the implementation of the global agenda. The government embarked on several other initiatives to catalyze implementation of the SDGs, for example, across the country. One was development of the integrated sustainable development goals model by the National Planning Authority, which is to estimate the medium and longer term attainment of the global agenda. Second one was integration of the global agenda indicators into the national processes through the national standard indicator framework. And then there was the rollout of the SDG and African Aspiration 2063 processes systematically at the subnational levels, local governments, and increase the positioning to improve the service delivery. Then lastly, there is also presidential appointment of the Minister for General Duties in the office of the Prime Minister, who is the focal point minister in charge of the global agenda, and is assisted by the SDG Secretariat, which was created as a hub for SDGs in this country. We have strengthened partnerships with different stakeholders, including the Uganda Parliamentary Forum for SDGs. With the new parliament, we have been able to induct 360 out of 560 members of parliament who are members of this forum for SDGs. We have also opened up a private sector partnership and signed an MOU with civil society organizations with the name of making sure no one is left behind when we are implementing sustainable development goals. We have also partnered with women groups, with the academia, and also the youth coalition. There is a coalition of small organizations of the SDG youth with purpose of creating 1 million youth for 1 million solutions by 2025. And we have recently also partnered with the Interreligious Council for Uganda, because the religious leaders play a very big role in the implementation of the global agenda. So that's what we have done so far as as implementation of the global agenda is concerned. Thank you very much for listening to me. Back at you, the moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. Thank you very much for that. We'll go next to Dr. Helena Asamoah Hassan. Helena, as an icon with over 45 years experience in librarianship, what is your opinion on how libraries can support governments in realizing agendas 2030 and 2063?
Very much, Dr. Koje, for that. First and foremost, I wish to commend IFLA for putting this program together. And I believe that at the end of the day, our viewers and our listeners will have an idea as to the role African librarians play in supporting our governments to realize the 2030 and 2063 agendas. Librarians really contribute a lot, but because of the nature of our work, people take it as a social service, so they really most often do not think that it contributes to national development. And with this, I will want to just start off by talking about how COVID librarians came in to help national development during the COVID-19 era. No, it is still there, but at least it's a little low now. But when libraries were shut, and even before then, when the whole world came to a standstill, libraries supported information access to the citizens, especially in areas where we talked about prevention and also trying to ensure that people get access to information. When the libraries were closed, many libraries resorted to online services, providing very relevant information. First, to support learning, because schools were also closed. Second, to also support to relieve boredom by providing fiction and other things to ensure that when people were locked up at home, there was something they could read and also listen to ensure that they are not bored. Now, all these things, one may think that they are nothing, but they really support national development. Because when there is this kind of pandemic and people do not know what to do, there must be a way of getting the citizenship informed and also put in a proper shape of mind. So with this, and as I speak, we were able to cut across Africa, and we got to know several countries, several things that libraries did to support. Like in Namibia, for instance, when the libraries were partially open, what they did was to ensure that there was cleanliness. They cleaned the shelves, the tables, there were sanitizers, which really supported the goal 8, that is ensuring good health of the SDGs. That is something, but like I said, anybody doing that, somebody's mind will not go to the fact that they are supporting goal 8. And the same thing went to several other libraries, most of them supporting goal 4, that is fulfilling quality education. So all these went in to ensure that countries were pushed towards realizing the agenda for the SDGs and then for the African AU agenda. Now, if I must say that if the library is able to provide online resources, which will even also support people's skills, reskill them, because I know very well that through IFLA and the Ghana Library Board, we are able to work with Commonwealth of Learning to ensure that people were reskilled. People also who were laid off because of the COVID-19, they got new skills. And to me, that also supported the issue of another goal, ensuring that there is economic and growth and employment. So I think that these are just a few of the things libraries do. If we had time, we would just be able to go into them one after the other, but this is in a nutshell. And I feel that if there is any other round, I'll go further and then also talk about the role, what I think libraries should really go out to ensure that they are involved in national development. Thank you very much, Dr. Koji.
Reinvented themselves to remain relevant in society during the COVID-19 period. Thank you for the insight. I'll go to Professor Eugene. Professor Eugene, with your background in academics, how can SDGs and other development agendas be infused at all stages of teaching, learning, and research? Professor Eugene, please. Professor Eugene? Oh. Please, with your background in academics, how can SDGs and other development agendas be infused at all stages of teaching, learning, and research?
Thank you very much, Victoria, our moderator. That's a very interesting question, not only to me, but both to academicians and librarian fraternity. What you have to know is that no one, and it's quite impossible to separate librarianship or professional librarians from either academicians or national governments, because librarianship or libraries are in between, playing a very, very crucial key to sort of bridge the gaps that continuously come up in our societies. So infusing SDGs and other development agendas at all stages of teaching, learning, and research can only be achieved by the following: by reducing impediments to collaboration amongst libraries, national governments, universities, and research institutes. Because quite often, particularly unfortunately, in our poor countries or low-income countries, as they are popularly known today, you find there's some kind of games being played. One looks at libraries as people who are there to lend books, and forget that these are very, very important people who add up so many information systems to us, who help us to know different sources of information that we are not aware of. So there is a very desperate need to reduce these impediments of where collaborations are not possible among libraries, national governments, universities, and research institutions. Even as researchers in the academic world, we cannot be important if libraries are not there to promote our outcomes. We just go out, research, produce, put it there. So we need that kind of collaboration. So we have to reduce that impediment. Another thing we have to remember in terms of infusing SDGs and other development agendas, that libraries, national governments, universities, and research institutions have to share their expertise and the unique resources available to the nation and from other donors. This kind of sharing, whoever gets some funds, and then library, university, government has capacity to avail some resources, let us share them. Because at the end of the day, we are working together. We are working, today is an information society. We are looking forward to our countries in Africa to make sure that we are well equipped with data, with information. When our younger people go overseas and don't want to come back, it's because those countries are developed. But development without data, without information, is not development and cannot be achieved. So we have to make sure that we support libraries, we work together to make sure that the resources are shared. Because as you know, information, data is quite expensive. So if you don't share these resources, we cannot make it. Next, digital library is the language of the present, as well as the future, since those who cannot share, learn, network, and perform other basic functions in an online environment would be left behind. And our libraries, our librarians are playing a very big role to this effect. So we need to look at the digital literacy in a very, very serious manner. And as we are busy, for us academicians, teaching, researching, librarianship fraternity is there to make sure that what we teach, what we research is well interpreted and well known and well received from the user-friendly platform. So we have to look at that when you are sort of, actually infusion is a friendly word so that we work together rather than each one of us think that I'm so important, I'm there to give you books, to provide information, so I don't have to work with somebody else. No, that selfishness must be ended by this kind of infusion. And actually, this is where both libraries, universities, libraries must come in to bridge the missing gap. I talked about it through open access to information, hence promoting innovation in many low-income countries. Today, African libraries must take community outreach as one of their primary focus. Many of our libraries, I'm very happy for you guys who are library professions, that you have demystified the traditional concept that libraries are there to lend books, to give out books. No, it's much more than that. So we have to make sure that this concept...
Thank you, Professor Eugene. Thank you. We'll come back to you. We have another series of questions. We'll come back to you. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Now I go to Mandla. Mandla, you are the director of and CEO of the South African Library for the Blind. Can you help us understand the concept of information inclusivity and how information inclusivity is addressed in information services provision?
Thank you very much, Moderator, Dr. Koji, and greetings to the panelists and the colleagues who are virtually connected. When we talk of information inclusivity, coming from the perspective of the Library for the Blind, it is very important because it talks on inclusiveness of all people with different needs of accessing information, and then with the delivery mode as well that is utilized in relation to that provision of access to information. It is very critical, and one cannot run away from it because there are many ways and means that have been put forward. The critical one that I would like to raise, talking from the perspective of the blind sort of community, it's the braille and all the materials that should be provided. And the librarians in most cases or information socialists are not very much trained in dealing with people with special needs. But the training that we get, it goes at a very high level of training librarians in relation to how do they the needs of individuals going in there. So what I want to say, Moderator, is that of training in relation to servicing people with special needs. And then there is a need as well of inclusive kind of training, where we have librarians who apply, and then that can service people from their own context and understanding. To have people who are deaf to service the librarians as well at that level. So what I want to say in a nutshell, looking at the SDGs and the AU 2063 agenda, it is very important that we become very inclusive in terms of our policies, in terms of our, in every library we should have a section that saves people with special needs. And then I think the SDGs are sitting there that when you talk of quality education, it's quality education for all. When you talk of the areas of the provision of information, access to information, it should be access to information for all in the means that can be accepted by those people at different areas. So it is very critical for us to pick up these skills and have an understanding. But the most critical one, it's to look at what has been provided in the continent in relation to support these kind of approaches. Like we had, IFLA led a lot of processes. I think Madam Iti can sort of stress on that point, where we had 3 different communiques, and those communiques, one started from Durban, Kenya, and Ghana, but emanating from the IFLA conference that took place in 2015 in Cape Town, where the Cape Town Declaration was formed. In that as well, there is a build-up of making sure that all ministries within the continent, they support the SDGs and AU agenda by making sure that all people can have access to information, no matter where do they come from in terms of their disabilities or challenges, and then no matter where do they come from in terms of their creed and all of that. Because information is a tool that will make our continent, Africa, a successful continent. But the goal that is very critical for all of us in the SDGs, and then looking at it in my own sort of situation when you deal with the development of the programs or services for people who are blind or visually impaired. It's called number 17, which talks to collaboration and partnership. that is a very critical area, because you cannot work in isolation. You have to have others coming together with you to fight in this battle so that we can win. So there are federations, there are councils, there are boards that are dealing with these services in different countries. We need to come together and make sure that we provide this service at a best level where all people are included in our services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mandla. And so I go to Beata. Ms. Beata, can you tell us very briefly what libraries in Rwanda are doing to deliver on UN 2030 Agenda and AU Agenda 2063? And what does having a forum like this mean for Rwanda libraries?
Rwanda contributes to the agenda 2030 and the
Ms. Beato, we cannot hear you.
Because my microphone is broken. Hello? Hello? Hello?
We cannot hear you.
Ms. Beata, would you mind taking your headphones off, please? Maybe we try that way.
Hello? Hello?
We hear you now.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. What I'm saying, in our country, libraries contribute to the achievement of Agenda UN 2030 and the AU Agenda 2063 in this way, because our government, we have a political willing in developing those information institutions where we have Rwanda Cultural Heritage Academy, which has one of responsibilities to promote national library services. Other strategy shows the political willing in achievement of those both agenda is to establish the Kigali Public Library, which have one of responsibility to develop community libraries in countrywide, where we have a forum of those community libraries across the country. Madam Moderator, you asked me what the libraries are doing in order to contribute to those agenda. We provide information and knowledge to the community via the libraries. We promote reading and writing culture. Sometimes we make the competition, and the other literacy activities. We are also using the digital information, and we are other books meeting needs of the community, but we have to increase, because sometimes in the community libraries we have to increase collection in order to provide information and knowledge needed to the community. Other thing we are doing in order to promote, to be aligned with the Agenda 30 and the Agenda 2060 is to increase literacy among citizens, performing adult literacy. We are also planning to implement legal deposit in order to increase public collection in our country via National Library. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Beata. I will just ask another round of questions to all the panelists, but I want to plead with the panelists that you speak for only 2 minutes, please, so that we can cover more grounds. And I start again with Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert, earlier you mentioned the efforts government is making to achieve the development agenda. So how can the government collaborate more with libraries in the achievement of the 2063 agenda and the SDGs? Dr. Albert, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, moderator. Important that I should share with you now is that government of Uganda has put in place the National Library of Uganda, which is a government semi-autonomous institution established by the National Library Act of 2003 with the mandate of collecting, organizing, preserving, and disseminating Uganda's documented heritage, and to oversee local governments and communities in the establishment or management of public and community libraries. The National Library has partnered with development partners, both national and international, to implement the number of interventions in the communities as a way of achieving sustainable development goals. Currently, there are 46 public libraries and over 100 community libraries across the country. And they provide opportunities for people to improve their own lives and support informed decision-making. And this is through strengthening links with local agencies, engaging in literacy promotion and development of such, for example, agricultural extension workers. Government has also provided a network of delivery sites for government programs and services, and the National Library has a variety of literacy programs, especially with primary schools, which include inspiring readers, offering reading materials to schools and training teachers on how to organize the libraries, and then with local content, books which are uploaded on the Kindles and e-readers in the local languages. Finally, government has also advanced digital inclusion through access to ICT and dedicated staff to help people develop new digital skills. And this National Library of Uganda has provided ICT training specifically designed for female farmers, ensuring that these women can access weather forecasts, crop prices, and support to set up online markets in their local languages. And then media and information literacy and literacy programs for children, women, adults, and other marginalized populations, which make an important contribution to achieving universal literacy, which serves as the heart of the research and academic community. We have also provided a variety of health-related information materials like computers connected to internet, as well as Wi-Fi, where public can access health information so as to make better lifestyle choices and to stay healthy. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. You're doing so much with libraries. Thank you very much. Dr. Helena, you already talked about libraries and how they support government in attaining the development agenda. What does this mean in terms of partnerships between libraries and other stakeholders like civil society, NGOs, and so on? What does it mean for us? Dr. Helena.
Thank you very much, Dr. Okoji. Really, it really means a lot because we cannot go it alone. I can specifically give an example where in Ghana, the Ghana Library Authority partners with banks, telecom institutions, and some other stakeholders, mining companies. For instance, when they partner with the telecom institutions, they are able to provide them with network links where all the libraries are connected at no fee. With the mining companies, they were able to partner with them to renovate their buildings and also provide books and sometimes computers. And then with GIFEC, there is a government agency, Ghana Investment for electronic communication. They partnered with them and gave them over 100 computers, which they put in these community public libraries in the regions and then in their branch libraries. And with them, they are able to support what government they fill in where government cannot really contain. And they have really been very useful to subsidize or to support the little budget that the government gives. So as libraries, it's really key that we find going out to stakeholders, going out to the community to identify areas that we can use, especially institutions and organizations and companies that we can use to assist us to move further in helping our services. So that is what I can say briefly on that, a typical example of what has happened in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us about what happens in Ghana. Very interesting. Now I go to Professor Eugene. Professor Eugene, thank you for sharing how the development agendas can be infused in teaching, learning, and research. Would you like to share experiences of how education institutions are supporting the attainment of SDGs and Agenda 2063, in particular in partnership with library education institutions and perhaps other stakeholders? Professor Eugene.
Thank you very much, Victoria. And actually, that's a very interesting question, which would take me back to my colleague from Rwanda discussed with us. First of all, we have to look at how this agenda and the government of Rwanda is trying to meet or to achieve goal 4 of SDG and other agendas, of course, by looking at practically what Rwandan libraries are doing, because University of Rwanda and other private investors in Rwanda were working in collaboration with the public library. So in particular, Kigali Public Library in collaboration with the Rwanda Education Board, that is the department of the Ministry of Education that in charge of primary and secondary education. They are playing a very big role in empowering Rwandan youths in accessing general information and reading through information technology and entrepreneurship skills. So they hold a number of meetings, a number of workshops, a number of platforms to make sure that they increase the Rwandan youth knowledge in that direction. Kigali Library cooperation with the Rwanda Education Board comes from the fact that reading is very essential to every child's education. The moment a child cannot read properly or with quality education in terms of literacy, cannot go further. So Rwanda Education Board gains a lot from a National Library of Rwanda. Through this kind of platforms, youth become free from ignorance and segregation that characterized Rwandan history, because our history is characterized by very negative kind of history within the society. So the public library is doing a very heavy job in terms of make sure that they add on more knowledge to the younger people. Finally, through such platforms, youth become energized to dream of possibilities and greatness of the future without boundaries or restrictions or limitations in their life. So I would in brief say the public library is doing a very big goal to add on in the efforts of achieving goal 4 of 2030. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mandla, you had earlier mentioned how information inclusivity addresses information services provision. Would you like to share with us the gaps in information inclusivity and how can libraries and education system bridge these gaps?
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, for that question. You know, this kind of service, it's not a service that can be rendered by one institution and satisfy all. In South Africa, the government had to make it that it becomes a national service, and it falls within a legislation, which is the Act. And from there, it was implemented at the same level as the National Library, because this becomes a national library for the blind. And with that, created more platforms of servicing the blind sector as a unique sort of community that should be receiving information on their own format. Well, when you look at the gaps that they are still existing, and then this can come directly to other countries as well, where the services are located within the National Library in a specific corner, not like becoming sort of wide to be known and utilized. You know, when you meet with the World Blind Union, you meet with the African Blind Union, you'll pick up these issues that the unions and the associations are trying to come in and bridge the gap that should be closed by libraries, and then in national libraries, public libraries, where we have many libraries and public libraries, like a corner service that can render this service to blind sector when they're coming in, or people with special needs. And the issue of a digital divide is still sitting there as well. In terms of the devices that are utilized in our libraries, they are not talking to this blind community. So all of that becomes the gaps that we have to build up and make sure that this is that will be all and can accommodate one, starting from the integrated development plans of community to see that we are doing for that is sitting in your support plans. So there's a lot that is sitting there. And then in terms of the brain material, do we have skilled people who can sort of deal with these issues? And then those are the challenges that we are sitting with. And then how do we integrate that into the library training during the training of librarians? I think in a nutshell, that's what I can share. Moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I go to Beata. Miss Beata, you have already shared with us interesting information about what Rwandan libraries are doing, beg your pardon. Can you tell us what collaborative efforts are in place between Rwandan libraries and other stakeholders towards achieving the SDGs and Agenda 2063? Are there any collaborative efforts, Ms. Beata?
Thank you very much. We are normally we are collaborating with the other partners who are promoting libraries and literacy in our country. We are collaborating with the other libraries, public and private institutions, which have a mission to promote information literacy in our country. Normally, we are organizing every year the different activities promoting literacy in our country, like writing competitions. We have literacy months. We have different activities we emphasize every year in order to collaborate with the other partners in our country. So, but we have a long journey in promotion of libraries and other information sciences. That is why I said before, we have political will in order to increase, in order to upgrade, in order to promote libraries, but in partnership with the other partners, public, private, and civil society. This is also the opportunity to have this platform, to have this forum of IFLA to work hand in hand in order to promote those libraries and other information institution and to make advocacy in order to achieve the objective to contribute to agenda AU 2063 in order to have Africa, in order to have Africa with people have knowledge-based economy, people who has who are developed, the people who have freedom, the Renaissance, and it will be it is our opportunity to work hand in hand with the others, national partners and international partners like IFLA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beata. I'd like to just, if you don't mind, Beata, I'd like to drill down a little bit more on your thoughts on Rwandan libraries, just for 1 minute. What steps would you recommend in order to go further and realize more fully the potential of libraries to accelerate sustainable development in Rwanda? Just a couple of steps, a few minutes, 1 minute. Ms. Beata.
Ms. Beata, you're muted.
I'm not. Are you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
3 steps are enough for promoting, for developing libraries in our country. The first one is to establish public university providing library courses, because if we need to promote, to develop our libraries, we have to have many professional librarians. The second one is to make a survey in order to get more information on our libraries across the country and to make mapping of libraries. That will help in order to get more information on our libraries and in order to take different strategies to upgrade and to establish others. The last one is the last recommendation is establish new libraries and upgrading other ones. That will be the good steps which will help us to develop our country, to develop libraries in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Beata. Very interesting thoughts. Thank you. I'll go to Professor Eugene. Professor Eugene, for 1 minute, what steps would you recommend in order to make the partnerships between education institutions and library education institutions stronger and more effective? Professor Eugene, 1 minute, please.
In your minute, I would say, Madam Moderator, that libraries have to work closely with the national governments, universities, and research institutions in finding and providing evidence-based solutions to societal problems such as social, economic, political, scientific, and technological challenges. So this kind of close working together is very crucial, and that's my recommendation number one, because quite often we have seen all these institutions working a little bit independently, which is very, very dangerous. Number two, libraries should set up networks that would enhance the context of sustainable development goals, because we know if we don't interpret and analyze the context of anything that we try to achieve is very dangerous. So we need this kind of networks so that we work together to achieve these various goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Eugene. Thank you. That's a very good step to take and a very good recommendation. I go to Mandla. Mandla, we've talked about the gaps in information inclusivity and how libraries can assist in bridging these gaps. We would like to know how wider development programs can better deliver information inclusivity as part of efforts to achieve the SDGs and AU 2063. Mandla, please.
When you look at the AU Agenda 2063, it's very clear in terms of the 7 aspirations that we have. But the one that covers sort of all areas, it talks to the Africa we want. The Africa we want is the Africa that will allow everyone to get into the library space and have access to information in the format that is more user-friendly to that user or that a library user. So the IFLA sort of guidelines and all of that, when you go through, you realize that inclusivity it's sitting at a very high level in terms of the services that are there. So when it comes to dealing specifically with the issue of inclusivity in the services that we render, it's very important to close the gap by building up the cohort of people that will take leadership in terms of broadening their thinking as librarians or as information workers. And then while we build up the area of skilling, and then which goes with education from the training at the university level, and then the research that we are involved in terms of talking to each country within the continent and supporting the agenda of making sure that if any person goes to the library, the access to information in the format that is readable to that individual is there to support the goal of having the information access for all. And then I'll put it in that level, Madam Moderator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mandla. Thank you for your incisive thoughts. I'll go to Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert, as a government official, how do you see other community organizations working more intensively with libraries in the attainment of the SDGs? Dr. Albert.
Thank you, our moderator. I can see, and of course, what is happening is that community organizations are working more closely with libraries through projects. A number of projects have been put together, and I will just give a few examples. The first one is ICT in public libraries, which establishes open access centers in public. And this is being implemented in collaboration with Uganda Communications Commission through its Rural Communications Development Fund. And it involves installing ICT access infrastructure in public and community libraries. And a total of 17 libraries have so far been covered. And the aim is to have more public access in ICT and internet. The second one is a project on 4G free Wi-Fi internet connectivity. And this project here is being implemented by the National Library in collaboration with Airtel Uganda. And as a result, 23 public and community libraries have been provided with free Wi-Fi, and it enhances the internet access speed in all these libraries in the communities. There is also another good project on building an inclusive reading environment in the communities, and this is being implemented by National Library in partnership with World Reader using funds from a certain program provided by the community, and its purpose is to increase access to quality digital content at classroom level via tablets loaded with book smart application by special needs pupils in schools, especially in rural areas. And then finally, there is a digital skills and inclusive through libraries in Uganda project. And this project is being implemented in 23 local governments and public and communities. It aims at enabling 13,500 youth and women in Uganda to participate in the digital society by providing them with basic digital and mobile literacy skills and access to meaningful content through skilling librarians to become effective trainers and providing meaningful digital skills training. And finally, linking people to beneficial online content and learning opportunities, as well as offering them attractive community-based learning models. So there are very many of them, but I've just picked few examples on how the community organizations are working with the public libraries to get this information, which we hope will support us in achievement of global agenda. Thank you very much, moderator.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Albert. You're doing so much with libraries, and I know you're going to do even much more after this session. Thank you. Dr. Helena, I'll ask you one last question before we take questions from the floor. You talked about how libraries can support government as well as partnerships. Would like to know what steps you would prioritize in order to maximize the contribution of libraries to the achievement of the SDGs and AU Agenda 2063. Dr. Helena.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'm tempted to say that everybody has said what I want to say because I'm the last speaker. But in all seriousness, I think that first and foremost, libraries need to get interested in the national development plans. Once the libraries are interested in national development plans, they are able to be added or included in activities and services towards realizing these SDGs and then the AU agenda. When you are out, nobody knows what you are doing. So that is the first thing that we need to do. And once we also do that, we have to continuously, you get involved, but continuously you need to be part of it, reminding them and letting those who are in activities know that these are the things you are offering. Then it's also important that libraries provide relevant information for the development of the society in easily accessible ways. That's clear, because if you have all the information and then you do not have ways people can access this information, it's meaningless. Then another thing too is that libraries need to continuously bring up these seminars. It's important, sometimes when you get involved in these national development activities, they will call you when they want to, but there's need for libraries to organize seminars and workshops, putting out there what libraries can do to support the realization of these objectives. And the important thing to that we should also know is that advocacy should be at all levels, national, district, regional, and local levels. Because when you say it somewhere and it does not go through, you have to move to the areas that are relevant to you. So I think these are key steps that we need to. And most of all, we have to be visible. Libraries have to be visible in ways of our activities and our interventions and how we relate to stakeholders and also governments and the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the panelists for the very interesting insights that you have given us. I would now like to open the floor for questions. May I ask Despina to please assist me? Despina?
Hello, everybody, also from me. So it's very nice to see people already interacting next to our YouTube video where this discussion is being live streamed at the moment. So just to give you a short overview of people who are watching this from Burundi, Botswana, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Rwanda, and Uganda. And people are saying that thank you so much for watching and being here. They say very interesting and educative, very informative and educative session, very insightful. That's a great opportunity to share knowledge and experience, very informative indeed. Great program, congratulations. All the participants and collaborators with libraries in Africa on climate change mitigation actions. And so for now, we only have some comments. I might, if you want me, I can just read a few of them. And since we just now asked for questions, I guess we'll be waiting for some to come. Would you like me to just say a few comments?
And just to remind participants that they should put their questions on the chat box.
Yeah, okay. So I think this goes to comment to Mandla. It says it's a good one. Mandla, information is indeed a powerful tool for national development. Thank you, Professor Regine. Hoping we get more academic partners with the same views. Thanks to all the speakers. Then we have a comment that maybe you'd like to take this as a discussion starter. Importance is one thing and marketing importance is another thing and must be a priority. So this is something about marketing importance. And
yep.
Yeah.
Maybe we could ask the panelists to comment on that. Take it. Despina?
Yes, sure.
Can you, yes, can you read it out again so that the panelists, anyone?
Yes, so the comment was importance is one thing and marketing importance is another thing, and it must be a priority.
Any of the panelists, do you want to comment on that statement?
I'll try, I'll go for it. And that is exactly what we are talking about, advocacy, because you need to let people know what you can do, what you have to offer. And then if you, however well you do in anything, if you don't go out to market, most people will not know. And that is why for some years now, there's been emphasis on marketing the libraries and our services, what we can do. Years gone by, we were just sitting in there and expecting people to come in. But those times are gone. So you really have to go and say, I can do A, B, C, D, give examples of what you have done. And that is a way of also attracting partnerships. So it is important, yes, to carry out marketing of what libraries are able to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Anyone else wants to comment?
On what Madam Edith has just mentioned in relation to marketing. Marketing goes with advocacy. As you do marketing, and part of it with advocacy, because we are advocating for more support. So it's very critical to have that initiative of marketing your library to your community so that the service that you are rendering is known. But while we are doing that, in terms of the priority as well in relation to extend or build up your collection, your services, it's very important because some people, they go out, call people to come into the library. When people come into the library, they find old books, the books that are not talking to their needs. And then by doing so, they kill the interest because they develop the interest of people to come into the library. When they're in the library, they don't find what they are looking for. So it should be the balance, as the one of the virtually connected members has raised this point. Madam EPS narrated, really explained it. But this area of balancing, it's very important to balance in terms of what does it attract, does it give value to the people that you are calling or marketing your services to, so that when they come to your library, they find what they are looking for. That is very important. But let us not keep in silos. Let us make sure that the voice is heard out there, that people should come and utilize the services that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Despina, is there anything else?
I think Dr. Albert has raised his hand.
Yes, just briefly.
Okay.
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to associate with myself with what Professor Helena said, that advocacy is very important. And earlier, Professor Eugene talked about libraries are not only for keeping books. We have to change the mindset of the public. Most people think that libraries is where books are stored, and that is all. Things have changed. Of course, you can search any information anywhere using even your mobile phone. So libraries must be well advertised, must have access to power, Wi-Fi, and tell people that if they go there, it is free. They are able to get any information they want, where they get problems. The other trained librarians are able to assist them, and eventually it becomes very strong. So marketing is very, 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 very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Despina?
So actually we have a comment to that, which I think adds to your discussion here. Someone mentioned marketing, advocacy, awareness creation. Librarians should let their worth be known continuously. So their work and their worth as development partners to be known to governments.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if that's all, I think we should begin to round up the session because
our moderator, if you may allow me 1 second.
Okay, Professor. Yes, please, Professor.
All those arguments put forward by our speakers, they need one practical example. During our days, I remember at Makerere, they used to have librarianship in terms of what they used to call diploma in librarianship. But later on, they made it BSc, information system. So there is a lot that the society needs to know about information system. They did not change that degree for the sake of the name, but there's a lot of content. So advocacy marketing is desperately needed for the society to know the importance of librarianship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have really dealt a lot with marketing, with advocacy, the importance, and why libraries must do more advocacy and more marketing. Thank you very much. I would just, to round up the session, I would say in 1 minute, each of the panelists, would you like to wrap up your presentation by summarizing your key takeaways and recommendations for future action? For each panelist, would like you to summarize your key takeaways and recommendations for future actions. Just 1 minute each person, and anybody can start. Who would like to start?
Thank you, moderator. I can start. Albert Biamudisha.
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much. I have noted from our discussion that nations, institutions, societies, professional bodies, and even individuals are now doing so much to ensure the realization of sustainable development goals. It is pertinent to state that one common element that cuts across in our discussion for all the goals and targets in the framework is information. Therefore, this implies that adequate information is relevant for the realization of the global agenda. Therefore, finally, we need our libraries as information institutions are crucial to the actualization of this global agenda, and they cannot afford to be docile. Therefore, we must market for libraries and so forth. Thank you very much. Back at you, moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Albert.
Thank you, Victoria.
Next.
If I can go again, so that the people don't finish all the points. Yes, I think clearly libraries are needed for the realization of the SDGs and also the AU agenda. And it's important that libraries get involved in the national development plans. Libraries must be visible and they have to be involved so that at the end of the day, the actions, they will be part of the actions towards realizing these goals. Those are my key takeaways. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I would say two things. My two takeaways. Number one is libraries need cooperation and partnership with the national governments, research institutions, if SDGs and other agendas were to be achieved. That cooperation and partnership is paramount. Number two, as somebody mentioned from the chat box, libraries' work and worthiness need to be brought forward to the societies. And what we are talking about here is to be community focused so that they know what the wonderful job done by these people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Eugene. Who wants to go next?
Thank you very much.
Mandla, your key takeaways.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Beata.
Yes. What I'm saying, I have to say the library is the key of achievement of AU sustainable development agenda, because AU needs the people who have knowledge, who have information, who have knowledge-based economy, the knowledge-based society, and the library is one of strategy to achieve that. That is why the libraries have to work hand in hand with different partners, and they have also to work hand in hand with the government, because the political willing is the key of development of the library in different countries. We have also to contribute to the agenda, UN agenda on target 4, goals for target 6, where we have to have the people education, quality education, and the people have knowledge-based economy, the lifelong learning, and to promote and to increase literacy. That is why those are the libraries are key of development and achievement of those both agenda. Thank you very much. Let's work hand in hand and to contribute to both Africa and global vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And so we'll take Mandla.
I believe that most of the lists have covered critical areas we're talking about, and then the points, the last points, they are showing that there is one that we have to have, which is information inclusive. Without that goal of accommodating everyone, educated and uneducated, to library, people who are physically challenged, those who are not physically challenged, everyone should be accommodated. And then, which is the goal of our SDG, and then it's the goal of our AU agenda. National development plans, they talk on that, inclusive education. You go down to local government, the issues of people with disabilities, they've been sort of allocated special offices. So in a nutshell, what I would say to colleagues and those who are having interest at heart on the development of communities and the development of the colleagues who are working in the allied sector is to say the library is the home of everyone. A street person should get comfort if he's getting into the library. Every person who walks around the library should sort of have that feel and the environment that is enticing that individual to get into the library. So people with disabilities, we should remember that they also read. They also need to be catered in our information sort of delivery modes. And we need to remember that every time blind people also read. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We've heard quite a lot this evening. There are a few other questions and comments in the chat, but we don't have time to take them. But please, if you get in touch with us directly, we will be able to answer your questions and concerns. We've heard that libraries need partners. We've heard that libraries need to get involved in the national development plans. We need to do more advocacy, marketing. We need to be more visible, and it's the hope for all of us. So thank you very much on behalf of IFLA and the IFLA Sub-Saharan African Regional Division Committee. I say thank you to the panelists for the very interesting insights. I appreciate the participants for the active participation and all the comments and questions. I am grateful to the technical crew and all who have made this event a huge success. From the moderator, thank you all. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Goodbye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye and have a nice time.
Bye.
Bye.